actually correlates with anything, but I like to believe it does.
Yeah, I don't think it does. You're free to believe anything you want with the hash. And it looks like these two are off. BadmoonZ starts at home, Xirtanul starts in escape. Ooh, flute.
Wow. Flute in the sanctuary chest. That is a very nice item to find early on, especially where they have, just started. They're not having to make their runs through Kakariko. Be able to activate that one trip through Kakariko. And if they can get a bottle, it'll make it the perfect Kakariko.
Yeah, both runners will definitely be picking that up, and that will be critical to doing this run quick. And it looks like Xirtanul's doing Houlihan.
Yeah, and that is something I do remember from Xirtanul's first races. He has a very interesting starting route. There was the first game that I watched. He didn't go to Kakariko for about 15 minutes. So with the flute in hand, I'm curious if he'll kind of continue with that pattern that Xirtanul does.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like Uncle's section of escape had nothing to really give us.
Yeah, nothing too exciting there. Xirtanul picks up their 220 rupees, didn't get one of them, as BadmoonZ picks up the flute. So it looks like Xirtanul is not going to Kakariko yet, and they are heading down south. No, checking. They're going to jump off and check this Lake Hylia item, which was just a piece of heart.
Ah, I see, that's what he's doing. He's going to get bombs while he's over here. Interesting.
Yeah, not a bad route. You get a little piece of information. BadmoonZ, meanwhile, doing a more traditional route, checking a few places, and then hopping up here. We'll get a tree pull that has 10 arrows. Not a bad early tree pull.
Yeah, it just depends on where that bow is hiding. 5 rupees from the crab, and Xirtanul's now doing the south end of the overworld.
Yep, this is the routing that I do remember seeing from him. Again, it's a very different route. He doesn't go to Kakariko for quite some time, which I thought maybe having the flute in hand, he would have done that earlier, because then you can flute all the way down to 8, which is close to the Ice Rod. But, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Also, the Lumberjack Cave, rather, was checked. I believe it was just 10 arrows or a 10-arrow expansion, so we don't need to go in there.
Yeah, it did not look like it was anything important. I couldn't quite make out what it was, but I believe you are correct with that. And we have Blue Mail from the Dam Drain, so that's a nice early mail upgrade.
Along with the Boom Pearl.
All right, then. If Xirtanul does decide to continue with this path, he can now do the fake flippers into the water walking through Zora. He doesn't have enough rupees for us. We might do another Houlihan's to get closer to that, but we'll see what they decide to do. They will, of course, looks like they're going to do the Mini Moldorm Cave first.
Yeah, this is definitely not traditional routing here from Xirtanul. The route BadmoonZ takes is the route I would typically take during a run. He also decided to forego the single rupee that was in the Thieves' Hut.
Yeah, not going to help anywhere with that, and that's just time sink that you don't need at this time. So, not a bad decision on his part. We got 300 rupees, hook shot. Oh man, yes, the first shield, the Fisher Price shield, a full heart, and 3 bombs in Mini Moldorm. That is quite the find.
Gonna forego ice, but the fact that he does have that flute that he can activate means he can go and check it easily if he needs to. So BadmoonZ, meanwhile, is going to give us our look at Kakariko Village here, and we'll see what the other side of the path has, the other end of the pond, so to speak. Well, it has a hammer.
All right. I was just about to say, it looks like Xirtanul's routing has paid off pretty big for him in comparison, but that hammer, while both runners will eventually pick up what the other has. That is a, nice early find with Power Gloves. If we find, with Moon Pearl, if we find Power Gloves, they already have Dark World access.
Yeah, that'd be very quick, and if they're in Kakariko, then Xirtanul will be rewarded with a chance to dip in immediately.
Yeah, very good point. Xirtanul's now following BadmoonZ's path, and we get our look in the well from BadmoonZ.
Well, he's not following it entirely. He's decided to leave Lumberjack Cave likely until he can find boots. Wow. Well, there's 2 fetch quest items and the magic boomerang.
Yeah, so I guess the book is not going to be trolling us in the seed, but it could still house an item in one of the tablets.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't say the book was going to troll us. I was going to say the book was going to be required for the seed.
Good point. You did say that. So BadmoonZ is activating their flute. Again, getting that early and being able to do it in your first run through Kakariko just makes travel through everything else so much cleaner.
Yep. It's going to make it so that BadmoonZ doesn't really have to do as much as even lift a finger, really, when he needs to get to other locations. Unlike Xirtanul here, when he's done checking race game, he can just flute right over to lower end of the light world and check it.
Yeah, that is a very good point. So a little bit of time saved for BadmoonZ there, a little bit extra time spent for Xirtanul with the routing, and again, they both will be checking these locations. It would be silly if somebody never checked the density of all those locations. Mirror.
That's a lot of traversive, like, quick, speedy tools already, and we do get a dungeon check on the map. We do need all light world dungeons. None of them are important crystals, however.
And that is always nice to see. I love seeing 3 light world crystals because that means you have a chance of having Mire, Swamp Palace, Turtle Rock, any of those really long, arduous dungeons as a possible pendant that you can possibly avoid.
I think in this instance, though, you might be somewhat hoping to at least see Mire because you have a flute already.
That is a good point.
You don't want the game forcing you independent Mire if you can help it.
Yeah, that is true. And so getting the flute with that early is a pendant.
That was kind of smart on that bookshelf.
Okay, so we have not seen a Dark World check. We don't know if that's required yet.
I mean, it may just be by proxy required for Ganon's Tower, which then means they'll have to find the boots.
Yeah, and at this point, we have not seen a whole lot, so we cannot even make any type of predictions on what's required. But with that flute in hand, easy, quick check for that mushroom. That's very nice.
Easy mushroom turn in.
Super easy, and like the seed is super free right now.
Yeah, like handing this in didn't even cross my mind. Well, it didn't pay out, but it was definitely a good thought process by BadmoonZ.
I agree. I love checking fetch quests as soon as I get them, and they also have the hammer and powder on Xirtanul's side, so they can check that while they're in Kakariko as well. So one benefit to the route that they did.
Yeah, this does mean that he'll be able to just quickly check Magic Bat as he does his map check.
Yes, indeed.
So the runners' routes are kind of converged at this point. They're gonna basically do what the other's already done.
Yes, indeed. That's exactly what we're seeing from both of them. We do have the possibility of seeing an Ice Rod check from BadmoonZ since they have that flute activated, as well as the powder check, but it does not look like Xirtanul's going to do that. They routed away from it.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to save that for a later point in time. I suppose the fact that he has hammer means that he can just route in with the smiths pretty easily, since he does have the mirror too.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And also with the flute, you can check the purple chest real quickly afterwards. So it's actually not a bad idea to save it for now.
No, it's not the worst idea. What may not have been the best idea, though, was coming into the race game, because he is going to lose a little bit of time here actually doing the race for his big 20 instead of checking it first. Not happy.
Not happy seeing that, wasting that extra 10-15 seconds, but we'll be getting a small sequence break from Xirtanul as he goes and gets the old man, though the rest of Death Mountain is not. Yeah,
this is the only thing that's actually not within his logic, and BadmoonZ's going to follow, but he's going to ignore the old man.
Yeah, and he's deciding to not break the logic at this point, which, again, it's only one item from the old man, and we'll have to wait and see what Xirtanul gets. If it is a big item, it'll be interesting to see how long it takes for BadmoonZ to head back. Yeah. I'd also like to point out, I believe both runners skipped Ice Rod Cave. Yes, they did. And now one thing that BadmoonZ does have to be wary about, if he had died there, he was getting trolled by those dead rocks. He didn't have the save point on Mountain Cave. Although having the flute, it's not a terrible time waste. That's not something you want to do without that safety save.
It would be pretty easy for him to get back. Yeah. Big 20 on the old man as well. As BadmoonZ's going to check Paradox.
Yeah, and it looks like Xirtanul is going to go check Spectacle Rock V4, and we'll see if they decide to go into Tarapera area, since we do have that mirror.
Oh yeah, this is an interesting little split here. You can choose to go right first, or you can go up first. Half Magic was on the right side, though.
That is super nice and early. Lamp on Spectacle Rock and just a full heart inside.
You know, it'd be funny if the fire rod was inside Spectacle Rock with the lamp on top of it.
That would be pretty funny, actually. And they've gotten 2 300 rupee pickups, so money is not an issue for these runners.
Yeah, not today at least. Certainly gonna go get that lamp. We'll probably check Ether Tablet, but he can't actually get the item out of it yet. BadmoonZ unfortunately messes up his bomb jump there. It's a little hard to do without any sort of sword to line yourself up with.
Yeah, you can't do it as easily, and it is just couch cash inside the Ether Tablet, so good knowledge for Xirtanul, never will have to return there.
Hera, though, is directly on the table and getting knocked out right now.
Yeah, and we have everything necessary to full clear it if they do need to go to the basement even, so not a bad idea by Xirtanul.
Well, the problem is if BadmoonZ does have to go to the basement, he's going to have to make a slightly inconvenient dip to grab that lamp first.
Yes, for BadmoonZ, that is definitely, with the way that he's routed it, that will be something that they have to do.
I believe that was 300 rupees on the floating island as well, so... As we go up to Fire Shield.
Yeah, and we have the nice slow walk from BadmoonZ down, down, down Spiral Cave. One of the slowest, most painful things you have to do without the boots.
Interesting he decided to do this now, before doing Hera. Because he doesn't have the actual save point to make use of. He'd have to go back up here with the flute. But he gets a cape for his troubles. And that was the second item in Hera right there, those 10 arrows, so Hera is empty. And BadmoonZ gonna walk back. Wonder if he even is considering fluting there just to... Oh boy. That's going to hurt BadmoonZ a bit there. He's gonna have to flute back up now. Lost him a little bit of time. Xirtanul making very quick work of Moldorm here, as BadmoonZ actually just opts to go to Desert instead. This will hurt him though if he doesn't. If he does find gloves in here, he can't actually clear the dungeon. Xirtanul could, barring the fact that you'd have to do Hammer Moldorm, which not Moldorm, Land Molas.
Yeah, that is definitely not ideal at this point, and we will be able to find out for sure if Desert is boots locked and if boots are indeed required for this seed. And Xirtanul will be able to pick up everything that BadmoonZ had and get that half magic.
If you're one of the runners right now with the little knowledge we have, I think you're hoping the boots are required, because that means you'll get your Cane of Samaria and not have to worry about looking for boots somewhere down the road. And
yeah,
that is going to be the case, so... The question now becomes, which key's on that torch?
Yep.
The big key.
Alright, so we do indeed need boots for this seed, which, as you pointed out, with knowing where the Cane of Samaria is, that is actually really nice knowing that you will find the boots in the seed at some point, before going into Turok, for sure.
Yeah, before you having to do either Mire or Turtle Rock, and before GT, so you don't have to worry about that right side potential at all. Before he leaves, though, BadmoonZ is going to go check Agahnim's cave.
Yeah, not a bad routing for this. He's got a lot of information. Unfortunately, didn't get anything important. Did get one of the items at a desert, but not a whole lot more than information. We'll see what Agahnim's cave has.
As Xirtanul makes his way to get some of the rewards that were in Paradox Cave. Now, from here, Xirtanul might make the decision to go check Desert, but when do you go make the play on Eastern or go do Fake Flipper up to Zora?
You know, I would check Eastern before going to Zora first. You guaranteed 3 items from Sahasrar's chest, and another possible 3, and with the lamp in tow for Xirtanul, he has the ability to get everything but Armos Knights killed, because he doesn't have the bow at this point.
I also just remember that Zora's actually logic, so yeah, don't do him yet.
Yeah, I think
We don't have a glove or flippers.
Yeah, again, it would be a fake flipper, and you'd be able to check everything, but you'd be able to check everything and possibly get everything depending on if you get flippers or not. But the Zora Ledge items, so wouldn't be a bad play. But at this point where they have mirror, they might be trying to route it in with catfish.
It looks like BadmoonZ is going up to Hera. Xirtanul gonna turn in his mushroom. I also just remember back of his the all of escape is still open as well.
Oh, good point.
So
and now
one runner might dip in there to look for gloves.
Yeah, and we do have lamp, so there will be no worries about the dark rooms in the rest of this race. So no dark rooms.
Xirtanul is going to check desert first. He will be blocked very quickly as well. As BadmoonZ enters Hera for what will be actually a fairly quick trip, because the items were very early and the big key was the first item you found.
Yeah, very nice Hera. My dream of lamp blocking the fire rod is dashed very quickly. I thought for a second, seeing the lamp there, I was like, okay.
Now, one other thing that's looming very just subtly in the back of my head is, will the runners find gloves first or will they find a sword first? And on that follow-up, will one of them take a gamble on Agahnim?
Ooh, interesting. We do have the cape. So, if we find a sword and no glove, I mean, depending on where they find things, I think they might be taking a gamble on Agahnim. If you don't have the glove, they might do a fake flipper to Zora, hoping that can break that possibility. But we'll have to see what happens, as Xirtanul is going to check Agina's cave as BadmoonZ is clearing up Hera.
Now, thankfully, they still have potentially 14 chests to check, I guess, but there's still a lot of items they could find that keep them out of Agahnim for now. The thing they need are gloves.
Yes, they do need gloves. Now, I can't remember at this point. I always forget about this. Do you need gloves to be able to go to the Dark World via the South of Hyrule portal above Swamp?
Yeah, just clarify since it's a little... Someone seems confused in chat. They don't have gloves yet. That's why we're not in Dark World. It's kind of holding up the works here, and it looks like Xirtanul's gonna take the play on Escape next.
Yeah, not a bad idea, and they will do their first tree pull of the game and get... Oh, fairies on that one. Okay.
Go find your bug net and find the bottle. We don't have any yet.
Yeah, no bottle, no bug net, but those fairies, that's a nice tree pull. Especially if they don't get any more hearts and or mail upgrades.
And it looks like we have a dead Moldorm as well, so BadmoonZ is going to probably flute straight from the entrance, but where?
They've already done the uncle and that chest, but they would have the rest of the front half of Escape. They do not have access to the back unless they go the intended route without the open logic. Now, that would be a long trek hoping to find gloves, but that would be a trolley location if gloves are indeed in the back of Escape, which are entirely possible at this point.
I believe I've had a seat or two where they have locked the gloves in the back part and maybe do the front to get there.
No, that's pretty rude. But it looks like BadmoonZ is going to be heading to the front of Escape as well.
This also means there's not much time difference between the runners. Xirtanul's only got like 10-20 seconds on BadmoonZ here. So despite all that divergence and BadmoonZ actually dying once, it's still very close.
Yeah, and luckily that death didn't hurt BadmoonZ too incredibly much, where they checked everything in Death Mountain besides the old man and heading up to Tower Hera. They were able to do that almost as if they had fluted. It wasn't too much of a time loss for them. And to answer somebody in chat, yes, we did mention that we are very close to Dark World access. We did also mention that we need power gloves. They were very close to Dark World access at about 4 minutes in because we've gotten Moon Pearl and Hammer. But as you had seen, we do not have those power gloves yet.
And Ice Rod Cave has not been checked. Sahasrara and Eastern has not been checked. Those are where we're trying to scavenge for the remaining items.
Yeah, as well as we do have access to the back of Escape, as we mentioned previously. So I am curious to see if either runner decides to make that, I would say, a gamble to go into the back of Escape through the intended route.
The problem right now is they're definitely going to check that dark chest. They have mirrors. It's going to be a very convenient check. But if they don't find the key, they are going to be walled out and they're going to have to go to Eastern.
That is a good point.
So this is the last chest the key can be in that Xirtanul's going to.
Yep, indeed it is. Now, if it's, let's say it's a key, do you continue? You're close. You're much closer at that point.
I would definitely continue. There's literally, like, since you're looking for gloves and running out of locations, I don't think there's any reason to ignore the back when you're able to just route it in.
No, I would have to agree with you there. If you're already making the decision to go for that one chest, and if it's not the key, that answers all of our questions on whether they continue or not.
Yeah, it's literally, is this a key? If it is not a key, go somewhere else. Well, go somewhere else.
Yep, go somewhere else, and that somewhere else is either Ice Rod or Eastern. I think you go Eastern. There's so many more possible items there.
I would say it'd be kind of funny here if both runners then do Eastern, and they're both getting punished for not going to that Ice Rod Cave. But the question then becomes, is it a sword or a glove?
Yeah. Oh, man, that would be... Now, if BadmoonZ decided to go there, and it is one of those, and there's nothing in Sahasrara's and Eastern, then that would be not a huge advantage, but just a small enough advantage that, you know, it might help BadmoonZ make up for that little death.
Yeah, potentially slightly. I want to say he still hasn't done the old man either, so I don't think he has that spawn up on the mountain yet, which we'll get to see in a moment. Nope, he has not done that yet.
Oh, that is a good point. And he does have the lamp now, so it is in logic, but it was a big 20, so nothing. And there is our sword, and a second sword. Wow, okay, 2 swords in the back of Sahasrara.
Well, now Xirtanul's probably going to be thinking a moment here. Nah, he's going to go to Eastern first. He'd rather not go do Aga if he can help it.
Yeah, but that definitely opens up Aga entirely. I mean, it is 100% possible to finish at this point. Even the first sword did that, but getting the second one's kind of like, hey, you can totally do it now.
It's like, hey, you didn't have to go up to Death Mountain. You could have just gone to Aga right now.
Yeah. Actually, no, they did, because Lamp was up there, and for that to be logic...
No, they would need that too. They just didn't need that cape.
Yeah, the cape they did need, which was... I actually can't remember exactly where it was. Spiral.
So, Xirtanul hoping to find the 3 items in here quick as he can. There's 5 chests that he actually does have all logic to access due to that lamp. He just can't reach Armos. And Compass is not a good start.
Not a good start indeed. He's hoping that either he finds the bow or that Armos has the map at this point. So, I mean, finding the bow would be optimal. Only 1 trip into Eastern. Anytime you can 1 trip a dungeon, it's always a good thing.
Yeah, the bow would certainly be the one item they're hoping to see while they're in here. But it's easy enough to come back if pot is something they have to do.
And that is like our 50th bomb upgrade. They have found so many bomb upgrades at this point. I think all we're missing is the Big 10.
They found a lot of those, yeah.
Not doing them any good at this point. They still have need for bombs, but not too many. And Xirtanul does have 16, so they're pretty set on bombs for the most part.
Yeah, bomb troubles are not going to be a thing in this one. Xirtanul tries to do the skeleton despawn via sword beams, and misses positions it slightly, so he does have to kill the 3rd one. Good place, big key though.
That is optimal placement for that big key right before you get there, so we're happy to get that and not have to make the trek back in here if they do not find all the items and or bow.
No, but there's that toss-up opportunity. That last chest past the dark rooms either has an item or doesn't.
Yep, so we're now at 50-50 whether Armos will hold an item, and talk about getting bombs after getting a bomb upgrade. So that's kind of, you know, this Eastern Palace is just really explosive right now.
I'm gonna be a little. You got Frank here actually. I'm gonna be a little surprised if either one actually thinks to check the Ice Rod Cape before doing Agahnim. There are chances that one item you skipped may have saved you from having to do something, but I think with how those two swords were just right next to each other, it's very likely the Sea just wants them to do Agahnim.
Yeah, I agree. And without breaking the logic of going to Zora, which we might see both of our runners do a sequence break and check Hobo, Zora, the waterfall chests, and that is our third item at least for Xirtanul.
So he's going to mirror out and flute, but will he flute to 8 or will he flute to 4?
This will be a big determining factor of where they go. Again, they have that possibility of breaking the sequence, even though he is going to 8 and checking Ice Rod Cave first. I think this is a good idea. You don't want to possibly leave that item.
He could, because he's doing Ice Rod right here, he could decide to do the fake flipper before finalizing his Agahnim decision. But it'd all be out of sequence.
Yes, at this point... But
if you find the glove upgrade, it saves you a headache.
Yeah, and so we will see here what this is, and at this point, the seed, without breaking the logic of a sequence break, is saying go to Agahnim, and there's our 10 bomb upgrade, so...
And I think BadmoonZ is just going to make the call now. No, maybe not. I guess he's going to go do Ice Rod as well. And yeah, Xirtanul's skipping out on the fake flipper, I think. Nope, he's going to 8 again. Suppose that is faster than just walking there.
Yeah, and I think BadmoonZ may have forgot they had the mirror because they saved and quit out of Eastern instead of mirroring and then fluting. Not 100% sure on that, but I'm guessing that's what happened.
Xirtanul trying to get his fake flipper. There he goes. He's having a little bit of trouble. BadmoonZ gets his 10 bombs, drops one off to show his distaste.
I don't know how many +5 bomb upgrades there are in the game exactly, but we have seen so many bomb upgrades. It's pretty crazy.
BadmoonZ also opting to do the fake flipper. Now Xirtanul decided to skip Hobo, and I'm not sure if he'll go back for him.
Oh, silvers.
Those don't skip our Dark World access via Agahnim, though.
No, it does not. So at this point, we have one more item that could possibly prevent Agahnim. But remember, all of this that they are doing right now is a sequence break. So, but for Xirtanul, they know they will not have to go back to Zora's Ledge with the flippers. There is just a big 20.
So BadmoonZ at the same time is going to go check Hobo. And it looks like Xirtanul canceled his water walk at some point when he stepped on land. Hobo has a big 20 as well.
Alright, so
Zora here will determine whether or not we can dodge Agahnim.
Yep, moment of truth. But remember, again, this is sequence break, so maybe this was intended to be Titan's Mitts if this is Power Gloves.
Nope, it's more bombs. Go kill the wizard, guys.
Sequence break included. This seed is like, you are doing Agahnim. I do not care what you do.
Yeah, I don't think Xirtanul's even going to bother. Yeah, he's not going to bother checking Hobo.
Yeah.
It's gonna be better off for him in this instance.
Yeah, and I mean, it's smart. He knows that he's breaking the logic. And for one item that takes quite some time to get to, especially where you'd have to reset the fake flippers, it's a great idea to just go straight for Agahnim at this point.
It unfortunately also continues a small streak of mine where typically seeds I commentate go to Aga, though it's usually because of what's in Lumberjack Cave, not for Dark World access.
Yeah. And we will definitely not see them going to Lumberjack Cave. Alright, so now that we know that we are forced into Dark World via Agahnim, do you think there's going to be a progression item on the pyramid, or do you think they'll have to go to Pod?
I think it's going to be in Skullboys or Thieves Town. That hookshot and hammer give them access to the west side.
Yes.
And I was, I'm looking down here because Chad is confused a little bit about what is Lumberjacks. our tracker thought it was gloves. I personally saw 10 arrows. So it's a little up in the air. I'm fairly certain it's arrows. Xirtanul might go check it later, but for all intents and purposes, if BadmoonZ isn't like beelining straight to Agahnim right now, like he would have probably done it earlier if he knew they were gloves. So I'd wager that it wasn't important since he's the one who checked it.
Yeah, I mean, there is the small issue of not having boots, so even if he does kill Agahnim, he wouldn't have been able to get the gloves yet. But I do tend to side with you on that. I didn't get a good look at it, so I can't really say either way. But the fact that BadmoonZ hasn't made that decision and sequence broke, I believe that tells me that it is not anything important. And it was an extremely fast check. I didn't even get a chance to see it.
Yeah, it was quick. I caught it the best I could. But Xirtanul making quick work of this, already most of the way up. BadmoonZ just starting here. Deal with these annoying gold mace knights that have a ton of health.
Yes, they do. Fighter sword on those guys is just, it's brutal. And BadmoonZ is just behind because they decided to check Hobo at this point, so not something that's gonna, be too much of a detriment, but just a little bit of a time save for Xirtanul at this point.
Yeah, I think BadmoonZ is also still, I think, slightly behind due to that one potential death, but it's not enough to have cost him too much here.
Agreed. And somebody asked if Ether tablet has been checked. Yes, it has, and it was just couch cash, so nothing important there, and they will not go back. They got book well before getting a sword, so it was when they were up in Death Mountain. They checked it with the book, but couldn't get it, which in the end isn't important, so.
Well, it's time for everyone's favorite half-the-time pastime. How many blue balls is Agahnim going to toss at us today?
I'm going to go with 3.
I'm going to go with 5.
All right, we will see. And it looks like our tracker is saying 4, so we got a little bit of a middle ground between us. Oh, the restreamer is just evil. He wants 15.
It's entirely possible. Not on this scene, though.
And while we are waiting for this at this point, just a quick shout out to our restreamer, Jacobs for Life, for making all of this possible, as well as Michael Volt for tracking and making our job significantly easier.
So that's 1 so far. Xirtanul's gotten 3 hits on the wizard already. There's number 2. Three. All right. No more, Agahnim. I'm hoping for 1 more. Nope. Okay, it's gonna be 3. It's the average call, so makes sense. So we'll also probably finally get our first check at the Dark World map. Neither of us actually checked that on the way to Hera.
Oh, that is a good point. We definitely should be seeing that pretty shortly by Xirtanul. We'll see. Now they're in the actual Dark World. Definitely a good time to check it.
He might check the pyramid first. And they do have mirrors, so now they're going to have to be careful safe quitting in Dark World. They'll get put back on this pyramid every time.
Yes, indeed. And it was just 20 bucks on the pyramid, so the ledge had nothing, and it looks like Xirtanul's going to head straight for Catfish. I like this decision. This is the best time to route it in. Oh,
unfortunately, he can't reach Catfish.
Oh, yes, you're right. No gloves.
You actually need gloves for Catfish. So he is doing what I said and is going to go... Oh, maybe he forgot.
he pulled a me and doesn't realize that he does not have the power gloves to get to Catfish.
Yep, he is going to realize that now, and he's going to go across that river instead.
Yes, indeed. And in his defense, how often do you make it to Dark World without power gloves? Not very.
Not having gloves is mixed for one of the oddest seed experiences because they're like a second-hand upgrade that you have all the time. So those few times you don't have even the basic level, you are thrown off your game really badly.
It's very true. It changes your routing and just drastically.
So Xirtanul gonna take the choice here to check Graveyard Cliff Cave, and he's probably gonna check Bumper Cave too.
Yep, and they do have no, there's no rock, so they do have access to Bumper Cave item.
No, there is a rock. There is a rock in the front.
Is there? Oh,
I
man.
believe so. Piece of heart on ledge. Still no map check.
No map check yet, which is on Xirtanul's side. I'm kind of surprised, and there we have it.
Well, there's BadmoonZ. Swamp, Ice, and Skullwoods were pendants. And it looks like Pod and Thieves were our 5-6 crystals.
I believe you are correct. And to answer Belliame, if I'm saying that right, there was a few people in chat, but I was the commentator that said this was a very free seed early on, and it has shut me up. It is not very free anymore. It started very free, though.
Now, I did miss where Green Pendant was. I believe it was on Skull, but our tracker will be on that. He took a quick screenshot to see it. And it looks like Bumper Cave is of no help.
No help, which is nice since they do not have the power gloves to get up there.
So Xirtanul's gonna go straight into Skullwoods, and you know it's a good thing he came this way. There are rocks blocking the other path.
Oh, Skullwoods was the red.
Okay, so it was green on ice.
Yes.
And that does mean that Cane of Samaria is required. But that mirror isn't.
Yeah, that is true. And the flute is required, we know, which means the Cane of Samaria is for sure required because both Turtle Rock and Mire were crystals.
Yep. And that's also and once they find the bow, it's a pretty easy to get 5-6.
Yeah, that is. I mean, they can get 6, which I believe Thieves Town was 6. They can get Thieves Town already. Wait, no, yes they can.
Yeah, they can. You think you need gloves to clear out Thieves Town. It's not actually necessary.
Yeah, Thieves Town is one of the most basic requirement dungeons in the game, where hammer is the only thing to full clear it, and a sword. Oh no, you can actually have hammer for blind.
Yep, blind can be damaged by the hammer, he can be damaged by the Cane of Samaria, he can be damaged by the Cane of Berna. Blind takes damage from a fair number of things, and they all do the same damage.
Yes. Yeah, blind is a very unique boss in that sense, where it doesn't matter what you are using, it does the same amount of damage every single time, and it's 3 hits per phase.
I do not believe he can be hit by Bomb's Bolt. I don't believe so. Now, I double-taked when Xirtanul checked the big chest. I believe it had another bomb expansion. I feel like we found all of those at this point. And, no, nothing yet, Xirtanul. No, not Xirtanul.
Oh!
Just that right now, Volt. The power glove.
Go. Power gloves finally have our first glove upgrade. 38 minutes into the seed. Wow.
And this is why you don't ignore Skullwoods, people.
Pendant, or especially pendant Skullwoods. Especially pendant Skullwoods.
Yeah. And it's quick enough to check the front, at least. BadmoonZ's gonna opt to bomb jump here. Trying to set it up.
And Big Chest was just
actually
the map.
So they actually are missing another item in there.
Yes, indeed. I thought I saw the golden bomb upgrade, but maybe I'm just so used to seeing that that's all I see right now when I see items.
It wouldn't be entirely out of the realm of possibility. But yeah, with a lift upgrade in hand, that means they now have the ready access to multiple portals around the Dark World.
Yes, indeed.
Getting around a little easier.
Yeah, especially with having that fluid, it'll make everything a little bit easier. And so far, Village of Outcasts just having a couple of big 20s.
Yeah, only one more actual house to check. And Xirtanul's not even going to check it yet. He's just going to go straight into Thieves Town.
Yeah, I like this decision. After finishing Thieves Town, they'll be able to head down to the Bombable Hut and out the south end of Village of Outcasts. So this is more efficient than going down and checking that and then coming back up and then going back down.
Oh, I agree. So all 4 of the items in Thieves' Tongue can be found, and so far it looks like they're all in the back.
Yeah, very nice to have that hammer early with the early compass there. And it looks like BadmoonZ is following in Xirtanul's step after picking up their power gloves in Skull Woods.
So, what do we think the next major progression item is going to be to help these guys out?
Well, now that we know what dungeons are required, we know that we need both fire and ice rod. And let's see. Let me think about that for a second.
Interestingly, we don't need flippers this seed.
Yes, they are not required with both Swamp and Ice Palace being pendants. That doesn't mean that we won't get them and have to go in there anyways, but at this point, it is not required.
I was about to say, that being said, if we find the fire rod and the flippers, they're going to go check that pedestal.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Boots, which will open up Desert and also Cane of Samaria.
You know, thinking about it, actually, I'm a little surprised the runners didn't check the pedestal while they were over there after getting the gloves.
Yeah, you know,
because
that's a good point.
with the flute, they can go back to 3, and I suppose it's a little bit of a trek into that portal, but that would be information that's still important to have.
Yeah, and they have the mirror, so it'd be easy to get there. So, neither runner deciding to do that. Probably hoping that they don't have to do pedestal. We will see if it is anything important at this point. What can it even be? Let's take a look.
At this point, it would be ice rod, bow, boots. A couple items could be there, even one of our medallions. There's red mail, by the way, in Thieves.
That is very nice to find, especially where they have not found a whole lot of hearts yet. Still have not made it to the second line, so nice to find the red mail.
So Xirtanul's going to be making his way to the lower floor now. I believe... Yeah, no, he's still missing the key. So the key is in Blind Cell, and he'll get his remaining 2 items through finishing the dungeon.
Yep, and in the big chest, as well as blind himself or herself itself. Well, I don't know what you want to call it, because it is a maiden before it becomes blind. And then it's... I don't even know what kind of creature that is at that point.
Just call it blind. Makes things easier for everybody.
I guess.
Bear in mind, it was blind enough to lock a key in a cell with it.
Well, they're blind. They maybe not knew what they were doing at the time, you know?
True, you would at least think some common sense, though.
Yeah, well, he does just float around with a sheet on underneath his floating head, so doesn't seem to be the wisest individual.
Yeah. The third item in Thieves was an arrow expansion, so not anything they were looking for either. And if Blind doesn't have anything, there's still the entire south loop they can do. They can even check Bombos and the Haunted Grove.
Yeah, they have plenty of overworld locations to check at this point if Blind does not have anything of value.
If they don't find anything in the overworld, though, they're looking at a trip to Pod. Well enough.
No, they could do Pod. It's pretty open with having the hammer, and bow can be anywhere on the front or back, just not on the right side.
Xirtanul got up pretty close to ideal blind there. Had a little bit of issues landing that last hit.
Oh, a bottle!
First bottle. He'll check that on the way out since he has the mirror.
Yeah, that is actually not a bad place to find your first bottle. You're just a couple of steps away from the sick kid, and with that mirror, it'll make it nice and quick.
Oh, and I think the tracker may have been mislabeled earlier when we thought one of them had powder.
Oh, must have. I thought I had seen it, so I was trusting of it, but it must not have been found.
It was most likely a mushroom misclick.
Oh, you're probably right.
So what does Sick Kid have that he's held from us for a while here? Hey, a validation to our run.
Our run is validated from the Sick Kid. Getting the fairy in the bottle is nice, though.
Yes, the fairy ball is nice to have just as a safety, and since death warps aren't really a thing with the mirror, he'll be able to hold on to that.
Yeah, and that is, he won't accidentally set up a death warp. I've seen that. Ooh, Titan's
There's
Mitts.
mitts. So now you're gonna loop the frog and chest into this.
Yes, that is a very nice find. And again, with the routing, it really pays off because it's more efficient going into Thieves Town, and even the Titan's Mitts wouldn't have changed Thieves Town in any way. So very good routing and very nice find.
We can also now get information on Myers area.
Yes, indeed. And this is now our access. Excuse me, we've already been to desert. We had the book. I was about to say we have access to desert, but oh wow.
Nice digging aim.
One dig.
Nice one dig for Piece of Heart. I would have probably picked that up. You're still low on health.
Yeah, even with red melee, I would have picked that up. That's that was nice. All right, so BadmoonZ is going to finish out Village of Outcasts and pick up their Titan's Mitts shortly, and probably see the same routing from BadmoonZ as Xirtanul.
Yeah, right now the runners are kind of neck and neck as the sea doesn't give them a ton of opportunities to branch out.
Yeah, it's actually, besides the beginning is always open. Even if you're in standard mode, it's just super open. There's so many places you can go. The sea just kept them pretty linear.
Yeah, I guess something else that's going to be in the back of these runners' mind is the Dark Death Mountain.
Oh yes, that is now available with those Titan's Mitts.
Ideally, they want to try and get that King of Samaria probably before they go up there, but they may not be able to hold out on that.
Yeah, and I don't believe, we have not seen what Turtle Rock Medallion is, and of course we have not seen Meyer either, so we don't even know if they do get the cane and everything that they're even able to open either of those dungeons at this point.
Well, without medallions currently, both dungeons are definitely walled off.
Yes, indeed. The blacksmiths just have 20 rupees. Thanks for saving me, man.
And Xirtanul not going to get that purple chest, and he's going to walk the path because he has Dark World locations to check and needs to keep in the Dark World.
Yep, this is good routing. I imagine we'll see BadmoonZ, again, follow the same route simply because the sea, again, is relatively linear, and BadmoonZ does pick up their Piece of Heart after that one dig.
Digging a little bit on the way out, too.
And to answer Sports Hefe, I believe Hefe, we have only found one of the items in Schoolwood, so there's still one more in there.
Yeah, the first glove upgrade was in there, and they needed that. They don't really need that, though, that Piece of Heart.
No, that one's definitely more out of the way than the dig game one. Xirtanul passed up that one. I'm not surprised he passed up that one. That would have taken a little bit extra time.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been the best check. Stumpy. Bugnet. Interesting.
Doesn't really help much, and we've already killed Agahnim, so we cannot see any swag at him. But we do have a chance of seeing swag at him on Agahnim too. Probably not, though.
Really, the interesting thing this lets them do is recatch some fairies if they find them in dungeons.
Yes, and we do have that one bottle finally, so we'll be able to replenish if they ever take a death and lose that fairy.
So it looks like Xirtanul's not going to do Hype Cave quite yet. He's going to bring the chest over and probably check the Bombos tablet first.
Oh, Bombos Medallion.
Bombos Medallion. They might need that.
Yeah, we have absolutely no idea at this point whether that is required or not, but it is nice to get medallions, even if you haven't checked them, because you don't know if you're going to need it yet. And the other nice thing about that, it does open up Ice Palace if we find the flippers.
Yeah, it is another way to get in the ice.
Though I wouldn't really necessarily say that's nice, because they would probably like to avoid it, as we get our second bottle full of red goo.
Well, that's pretty nice at least. It's another little safety for them.
Yeah, especially, again, with how few hearts they have.
Xirtanul gonna trek his way back over to Hype Cave now. I'm not sure if it would have been faster to flute from the Bombos tablet back to 4 and just reactivating the portal. The number of transitions you go through are probably about the same.
Yeah, that is an interesting That would have been an interesting way to do it. Definitely feasible. Probably would have been pretty close to the same. You know, it's hard to really say, but my guess is it probably would have been pretty close to the same.
Yep. All right, well, Pipe Cave getting a check now. Heart Container to start. Definitely appreciated.
Yes, indeed.
Otherwise, though, this was not a very exciting cave at all.
Not at all. And it wasn't even like a very wealthy cave either. It was just 3 blues, right, 2 blues, a red, bomb upgrade, and then a full heart. So very, again, disappointing hype cave.
I imagine Xirtanul's gonna go check the mire area now.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if that's where they head, and that is exactly where they go.
Get your information, get the 3 items outside of the dungeon that you know you can get. And if you can't open it, you can at least get in and raid it. You can't clear it, but you can raid it.
Yep, and you know, I don't know if we'll see them head in, just because they know where Kane is. I think they'll probably try to hold that off until they get Boots to get Kane. Now, wouldn't it be trolly if Boots are inside of Mire?
I don't think he saw the medallion when he did that jump, so it's gonna be a while before we. It might be a minute or 2 before we actually see what the medallion requirement is. And it looks like BadmoonZ is going to flute 2-6 as well. I believe he checked Hype Cave first.
I don't think he checked Hype Cave. That was our first Hype Cave check on Xirtanul, because their entrance through Dark World through Agahnim would have made that really slow routing, really, to go down that way. And it is Bombos.
So they can enter Mire. And Xirtanul going to opt to take this heart container, get himself up to 10.
Yeah, so Bombos, that definitely opens up the possibility of Boots being in Mire to lead to the Cane, and then back into Mire to finish. So that would be pretty trolly.
I feel like if you're Xirtanul here, you consider going in there. You would definitely want to at least see what's in Mire, because you're kind of hoping to not have to go all over the place looking for your items you're looking for as progression here.
Yeah, that is...
Whether BadmoonZ will follow suit is another thing, though, because there's still Dark Death Mountain and Palace of Darkness to check.
Yes, indeed. There is definitely plenty of the overworld locations still to check, and it looks like they are not going to go into Mire. So this could be a very big moment in this race, where both runners have been following the footsteps of the other.
Yeah, Xirtanul's gonna be making a bit of a gamble coming in here. It may not pay out, but if the big key's in a bad location, BadmoonZ will be searching for some time as well.
Yeah, if this does end up not having anything, it won't be a terrible loss of time for Xirtanul, if that big key is, say, behind the moving wall.
Yeah, it looks like BadmoonZ is also gonna finally take care of the old man.
Yeah, that is their first time getting to it. We know it doesn't have anything of value, and, you know, they did have Lamp earlier, so they're probably breathing a sigh of relief seeing that that was not anything important.
Yeah, at the very least.
Alright, so we do know that we will not get a Godmire, as there is just the compass on that first bridge. The first chest on the bridge there.
Now, the other thing that'll be interesting to find out here from BadmoonZ is what Turtle Rock's medallion is, because we've only found Bombos so far. It may be a bit of a goose chase hunting down another medallion.
Yeah, and I do take that back. That still would have been a God mode, as the big key was just on the spike there, just slightly slower than if it had been on the bridge, so...
Yeah, that would have still worked if they had the means to clear.
Yes. If there is nothing in here for Xirtanul, and BadmoonZ comes in here with Kane already, his Mire will be significantly faster, depending on if they're still looking for an item or not.
Yeah, he'll probably just clear the dungeon first after getting that big key, and then check afterwards. We'll cut down a little bit of time. Xirtanul not finding much to speak of, though. He's found the compass, the map, and the big key. Still has a couple keys he can find, and still hasn't found the 2 items he's looking for.
And we have the blue cane and 10 arrows in Super Bunny Cave on BadmoonZ side.
That blue cape not going to serve too much of a purpose here since they've already gotten the cape, but it's still something.
Yep, it is nice to have, and just another safety item if they do need to go. It does use less magic, but though they have half magic, that's not going to be too much of a concern either.
T-Rock is also Bombos.
Alright, so we have our medallion for both required dungeons, and will not be medallion hunting. That is very nice.
If either runner skipped purple chest, that would have hurt so badly to have to look for.
Oh,
but
there's the
BadmoonZ
boots!
finds his boots.
That is...
Which is important, because he can go get that King of Samaria now.
Yes, and that is bad for Xirtanul, possibly not having... And there's the shovel and ether for BadmoonZ.
But yeah, that shovel could also be pretty big, but the boots speed up BadmoonZ significantly here, and it allows him to do a couple more things that Xirtanul's not going to probably be able to do. Well, he'll probably come up here before Pod, actually.
Yeah, I would agree, but the big difference is, even if BadmoonZ decides to go into Mire without being in go mode, they will be able to full clear it in one go. Xirtanul will not, and we know that it was not a required double dip in Mire.
Well, at the same time, as Xirtanul right now, you're probably not intending to really go kill Vitreous anyways. Your equipment's not that good for the fight.
That is a good point. I was about to say they have silvers, but they don't have the bow to actually utilize those silvers.
Yeah, so it's either bank on finding bow later and come back, or do spin strats. Alright, I'm not sure if Xirtanul has found any items up to this point.
He has not. So Vitreous will be holding out an item, as there's only one more chest left to check, and that is the big chest.
So that does mean that BadmoonZ is still searching for items. He will more or less be full clearing the dungeon, because you don't check this chest early. Okay, he found at least one item.
He must have. I missed that then.
Oh, the shovel, right.
Oh, that's right. The shovel was on Xirtanul's side. I was thinking it was on BadmoonZ's side. Thank you for the correction.
Alright, BadmoonZ's gonna check his Bonk Rocks King's Tomb real fast. As Xirtanul is going to his house to check the
Checking the
shovel.
shovel.
As BadmoonZ finds an arrow expansion.
Yeah, nothing in Bonk Rocks. I do like the decision on Xirtanul's. I'm a fan of checking fetch quest locations as soon as possible. Maybe not necessarily going out of your way to route it in, but route it in as best as possible.
Oh, our tracker brings up a good point. Back of Escape's still open, too.
Oh, that's right. Probably see BadmoonZ do that after King's Tomb.
Oh, flippers! How big is it going to be, though? Because we mentioned before that that's what makes you worry about Pedestal.
Yes, that now makes you wonder. Ice Palace and Swamp are now open for Xirtanul.
I think Xirtanul's checking Back of Escape like BadmoonZ is here.
Yeah, that will be very nice find for... wait. Yes. No, never mind. I redact that whole thing right there.
We don't know anything that's back here yet. We know that one of them is the key. Ton of junk.
So, nothing. Just more money that they do not need at this point.
I do hope BadmoonZ is going to go get that cane soon. It's occurred to me he hasn't gone over there yet.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think he's not in a rush to get it. He knows where it's at.
If you're coming here... Did he just straight forget?
Oh, man, that is big if he forgot. Because... Oh, wait, he's never been here. So he's checking the medallion.
No, he came here.
Oh, no, yeah, you're right, he did.
He's going to go clear desert first. But he's wasted time here.
Yeah, this is... I mean, even if he does, remember and go back and get the cane, it would have been much faster to bring it with him, because then he would be able to do all this in one trip.
Whereas Xirtanul's going to go find those boots and make his next play.
We'll be very happy to get those.
Now, there's only one other item in desert, because we found a heart piece earlier.
Indeed, and that was inside the chest that I believe normally holds the compass in vanilla.
I think it was the map, actually.
Oh, the map, okay.
I don't know that for certain. I only know it from videos, but I believe that chest normally holds the map because the compass is in the room on the right where he's going.
You're right. It is the first chest on the right, correct?
Yes, and the big key is behind it.
Yes. I do believe that sounds much more accurate than what I was thinking initially. Hey, vanilla compass.
Well, item or map? Map, go kill those worms. Well, actually, maybe come back and kill those worms. You have a Master Sword and a hammer.
Yeah, and no...
Well, he's gonna do it while he's here. There's no reason not to. Yeah,
no real reason not to. No... I mean, the hammer is the best weapon he has to be able to take care of the Lambelas. Xirtanul picks up their boots at the same time.
If this thing has bow, ice rod, or fire rod, that's going to be pretty funny because he didn't want you killing him that quickly.
Yeah.
Xirtanul going to skip Spike Cave for now, which we know is going to be to his benefit.
Indeed.
I don't think either runner has been remembering that they can't just save quit.
Yeah, again, it's not something that you don't kill Agahnim too often, so it's not something that you typically have to deal with, and so you're used to just being able to save and quit when you want and not have to worry about it. They might remember eventually, though.
So Xirtanul is immediately going to go get his cane Samaria, which BadmoonZ has neglected to grab.
Yeah,
I believe he's neglected to grab it. If he switches to the hammer here, we might be able to see whether it's in his inventory or not.
I do not remember seeing him go to the library, so I could have missed it.
I don't either. I think he flew after King's Tomb and didn't grab it. Which Xirtanul making high priority to grab that cane because he knows.
Yeah,
that's important.
Don't want to forget it. Get it as soon as you can. I agree with Xirtanul's decision. I can understand why BadmoonZ. Well, I was understanding it until he flew it over here, and then I'm like, okay, maybe he just forgot.
And it looks like Xirtanul's going to just do Desert and finish out Mire. Solid play given the items he's just found. The fact that Lambos and Vidi have items is going to pay importance here depending on what they are.
Yes, indeed. And Tempered Sword. Very nice.
That also would have been nice to help kill the worm with.
Yes, indeed. That is one of the best upgrades. Actually, no, I'm going to resay that. That is the best upgrade in the game. It's the difference it makes on fights, particularly Ganon, is substantial.
Yeah, Tempered Sword is the sword you would typically like to have at a bare minimum. The minimum you're going to be given sometimes is a Master Sword, but you want Tempered most of the time.
Yeah, most definitely. Instead of having to do spin strats on Ganon, you are able to slash, and that just saves a ton of time, able to get a lot more in, and then, of course, the extra damage.
So it looks like BadmoonZ is going to go check Hype Cake because he hasn't done this yet.
Alright, and it'll be interesting to see where they head after this. If they... I have to wonder if they forgot where Cane Samaria is. That could end up being a massive difference in this seed.
Sports Jet. Either Sports Jet or Sports Hefe. I personally know, even though Gold Sword, the Butter Sword helps, it really doesn't speed things up all that much more than Tempered. It makes a couple things more, simplistic, but it does not save as much time as the jump from just Master Sword to Tempered Sword.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants the Butter Sword. I mean, nobody would bat an eye at getting it, but it's not something that I don't think many people are like, this changes the race for me. And, everybody would want that Tempered Sword over Master Sword, whereas it's nice to have the Butter Sword over Tempered Sword. At least that's how I view it.
Looks like BadmoonZ finally gotta go get his cane.
It's very good that they did not forget that, because that would have been a massive, massive loss in this seed.
Now, the plus side, actually, with the sword being on Lambo, is that means that they're going to be fighting Vitreous with at least a Tempered Sword.
Yeah, both runners will have that benefit, since Xirtanul is doing a Desert before heading to Vitreous.
Now, those flippers still put a lot of, odd instances into the seed. Because we're missing 3 items. 2 of them can be on that pedestal.
Yes, indeed.
And neither runner has made the notion to even consider checking it.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, at this point, it's out of the way. But waiting this long for Fire Rod just to like get that information may not be the best idea.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised that neither checked it earlier when they were in Schoolwoods, especially with that early mirror. And very interesting. I like what Xirtanul is doing there with the blue cane. Just using it to make the not have to worry about levels, just able to just kind of sit there and sit inside of him and just keep whacking at him. And used all of the magic, but with the half magic, it made that fight really easy. Long, but really easy.
So if I had to wager here, BadmoonZ is probably, like we mentioned earlier, when he gets that big key, he'll probably go kill Vitreous first. But it depends on whether or not he'll go back in for that shovel that we know leads to flippers.
Yeah, that's an interesting decision because it's such a nice and early big key. But you know that you're still looking for 3 items at this point, and all 3 could be inside a mire. So do you continue and do the whole dungeon clear, or hope that there's an item on Vitreous, but you still have to go back in for that second item, and I'm not a fan of leaving items in dungeons, especially if I'm looking for 3.
I think the worst part about finding those flippers is that it literally opened up both Ice Palace and Swamp Palace.
Yeah, it's so brutal. It opens up. That's just. Oh yeah, that's painful.
So if we have a pendant dip, I wonder where we're going first, and I wonder what the correct answer is.
Nowhere, and no good answer.
You're really hoping our items are in pod. I don't think we're gonna get that luxury.
Yeah, the only way that I can see them. I mean, they can still go to pod and check so many things without having the bow. But if Vitreous has the bow, no question, go to pod before going into swamp or ice.
Oh, certainly. If Vitreous has bow, you will go straight to pod. You will not check a pendant until after you are done with pod at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And, I mean, I still think that you check pod before going into pendant dungeons that are slow to get all the items. Even if it is bow locked, you can check everything but 2 chests on the right. Yes, 2 chests on the right and King Helmosaur as well. So I think you have better chances in pod, but that's where your gamble is. Do you gamble on finding bow in pod, or do you end up being bow locked and have to go in there later and bow is in one of those pendant dungeons?
I mean, crazy people would think it's in T-Rock because we can actually get at least one item of some kind, be it a dungeon item or a item in Turtle Rock without the Fire Rod.
That is a very good point. And
if you can chain the keys, you could actually reach Laser Bridge, which, the Fire Rod can be in Turtle Rock.
Yes, it can, and that is a very rude Turtle Rock if Fire Rod is in there. It's worse. I would say that's worse than having Ice Rod in Turtle Rock.
Xirtanul giving us cape dash strats against Vinny here. Quickly exterminates all those eyes.
Yeah, that cape makes that so easy, especially with Tempered Sword. That makes that fight significantly easier. Not as easy as Silver's, but very much an easier fight with half magic and cape.
Nothing will be easier than Vitreous with Silver's, though.
Nothing. I will go to my deathbed saying that is the easiest fight in the game.
Well, Vinny holding out and not giving us anything. It's time to make some hard decisions.
Indeed. So, Meyer had the shovel, which led to flippers. So at this point, we don't know if that's important or not. But it would definitely make you wonder because that opens 2 pendants, as we have mentioned.
I also wouldn't be surprised, just depending on where he goes. Now, if it's gonna be just straight to pod. If I see a runner flute to 3, they'll probably be checking head just to be safe. And knowing that information, they might feel a bit better about going into these pendant dungeons.
Yeah, I think if I were to go to make the trip into one of the pendant dungeons, I think I would try to check pedestal first, just so that I know that if I have to full clear the dungeon or not. If there happens to not be an item on Cold Sarah or Argus, then you know that you can avoid and or have to kill it in that one trip. Whereas if you don't have that information, it's okay. There's no item on them. Do I make the gamble on killing it and hoping Pedestal doesn't have anything? Or do I make the gamble that it does have something and kill it anyways?
I feel like if Pod runs dry on Xirtanul, he'll probably check Pen before doing anything.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I like Xirtanul's decision. Head into your crystals. Try to do everything you can to avoid pendants. Especially, again, slower dungeons that take some time to check every item.
The question now becomes whether or not Pod decides to give us basically a middle finger here and just block us out.
It will be interesting to see because it is not locked. So Pod in this version, as well as, well, version 26 especially, but in this version as well, has typically had quite the item count of very nice and required items. So it'll be interesting to see if it holds out in this run today.
I'm also going to be paying attention to what we find where in here and where the keys are, because V27 has a small logic problem in which you can have a 50-50 gamble for bow that key locks you, where the bow is in the dungeon.
And it could create a soft lock, which we have come to determine is something that would require a reschedule, but it is extremely rare.
It's extremely rare, and the only time we would reschedule. Oh, I didn't have the bombs out.
Oh man, at least he wasn't deep in the dungeon, but that's a little painful.
Yeah, the only time we reschedule is if one or both runners end up in the same spot. Like if both runners avoid it, the game just continues as normal.
Even if it could have possibly been key locked. The hammer jump on the disappearing bridge is one way to possibly avoid that if you are proficient with that, but it is not required to complete races. So if one runner doesn't know how to do that, they do not consider that as a way to avoid being soft locked.
Yeah. BadmoonZ also gonna immediately make the play on Pod.
Yeah, I think it's the best decision. And even like if it was bow locked, you have that information immediately because of that first chest, but we do know it is not. So I like the decision from both runners.
So the next items Xirtanul's are going to be checking are on the right side here.
Yep, Xirtanul has no keys, so we will see if this is bow locked or if we get a key. And there's the big key, so that's a nice find.
Yeah, it means that right side is going to be, or the left side rather, the dark maze is going to be an attempting check. There's our third bottle. And a key.
All right, so I think you go to the dark maze because that's 3 possible items, which would possibly could give another key, which would open up that room just below where he was with those statues right there, or with the 4.
Yeah, left side feels better here, but he will have to walk back out if he does find another key. It's the only bad thing about it.
I believe that was our 3rd item, if I'm not mistaken.
Dark maze can't hold a key. Okay, so he will have to come back for another key in the bow locked portion.
Okay, I did not know that. That is good. Always good to have that type of knowledge. That is not something that I have realized.
Big chest has the map. Xirtanul is out. And going back on top of the pyramid again.
Yep. All right, so now, depending on how BadmoonZ route this, I imagine they'll route it the same way. We will find out if this ends up being soft locked or not, because if the bow is in that room to the south of the 4 turtles, it would be bow locked for Xirtanul, and he would be soft locked.
Xirtanul, are you going straight into swamp?
Looks like it.
Gonna go on the quantity assumption and just clear out the dungeon.
Nah, I personally would like to have that information before going in, but then again, there's a reason why I'm not very good at this race, because I am not slow because I make those types of decisions.
I mean, I would have made that decision, but I would have maybe made it a bit sooner than they have at this point. Whenever I have the book and I'm near that location, I would like to get the confirmation for myself. Because it helps your routing knowing whether or not those pendants have to be done, and whether or not your item could just be in those pendant dungeons to begin with.
Yeah, no, I am all about as much information as possible. You know, knowledge in a randomizer is a massive thing, and the more knowledge you have about certain things, the better you are able to make decisions.
Now, one other thing we should note here, BadmoonZ has not dug up his flippers yet.
Oh, that is a good point.
I wonder what that will make him do.
I think that's the first thing they'll do after pod is check on the shovel. Just it would make sense to do that, and they will be relieved to know that it wasn't the bow that prevented them from finishing pod, but also at the same time like, crap, the flippers.
Well, there's one of the ideal big key locations there for Xirtanul. Big key very early in Swamp Palace. No hunting for that.
That is extremely nice. Whether you decide to go left side full clear or not, you will not have to worry about checking the big key, because that big key can be anywhere in the dungeon, including Argus, which is always annoying.
Well, BadmoonZ decided to check the other room, and it just had a boomerang in it, so we are not in that boat this day.
And that is always nice to see. You never want to have to see anything like a reschedule because of something like that, so very good to know that that will not be happening in this race.
Now, I don't remember how many other items they found, though, because I think there's still one left that's on the counter.
I think there might be two, because they've gotten all the dungeon items. There's got to be at least, I believe, 2 more keys, or is it just one more key?
2 more keys, but they're both in the bow lock section.
Yes, you're right.
And the first 3 items we found were a heart container, an empty bottle, and Xirtanul found a money or something in the dark maze.
Yes, we have found 4 items. You're right.
Then BadmoonZ got boomerang. Helmsor's got our last item then by proxy.
Yep. So yeah, so
we get a catfish check. And Xirtanul opts to go through the back route first, which is a safe play. Both runners getting heart containers around the same time here.
Yeah, pretty dang close to each other, and I like Xirtanul's decision to go straight back. You're trying to make this as quick as possible. I don't believe we've seen the compass or map, so he might be banking on them being on that left side, which is possible and is very nice when that happens.
I think I may have just had a minor realization here. Does BadmoonZ remember he has the shovel?
Oh.
So he's underneath that flute.
Yes, that is one tricky thing about the way the menu is in this game, and it looks like they're gonna head to...
I think he might be trying Turtle Rock. It
So,
could be the right answer. It very rarely is the right answer.
yeah, and if it is, that is a massive, massive decision.
Yeah, but he's still going to be missing those flippers, and he may forget about that shovel as time goes on.
And at this point, we don't know if that's required or not. We will find out from Xirtanul, and the shovel may not be something that hurts him, but if there is something in Swamp or Ice, if Xirtanul has to check that, it could be huge if they have forgotten about that shovel.
Well, I mean, again, the items we're missing are the same 3 items we were missing earlier, the bow and the 2 rods. The bow and the ice rod can be on the pedestal, but the way our dungeons are laid out, it's entirely possible. Fire rod is the only item they're not going to find on the pedestal, because it's required for skull woods in particular.
Correct.
Funny enough, if it was Pendant T-Rock instead of Pendant Swamp, we would have potentially never seen the fire rod this city, rather. So BadmoonZ is going into Turtle Rock. This is a ballsy gamble, and one that could cost him a good chunk of time.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends what this chest, first chest on the left is. If it's a key, they'll continue. If it's an item or dungeon item or anything like that, they will have no choice but to leave.
Chat brings up another point. Did we actually see BadmoonZ pick up the shovel in Mire?
You know what? I think I just assumed that he did do the full clear, but I don't think so.
Yeah, he may have skipped the bad torch room. But yeah, it would be behind his flute is the problem. So,
yeah, that's the issue. As with the way that the menu is, there's 4 items that share 2 spaces. Powder and mushroom share a space. shovel and flute share a space. So you have to rotate between them. I guess the bottles technically do as well. But
we'll keep an eye on that next time he goes into his menu, because Chad is saying that if there's a Y symbol over his flute, that should mean he has the shovel.
Oh,
BadmoonZ getting immediately walled off though.
Which is good for BadmoonZ. I mean, I guess maybe not good. It could have been a huge play if it was big, but they will not waste too much more time inside of Turtle Rock.
So Xirtanul, meanwhile, finished off Argus, is going to check the remainder of Swamp. Okay, there's a Y there. I think he does have the shovel.
He does have the shovel. I did see that Y, so if that is indeed accurate, which I believe that makes perfect sense to me, that is big, and he is thinking.
He's a little lost.
I don't think he remembers the shovel. That is the way that the... Wait, maybe?
No,
there we go.
And that is complete confirmation you picked it up.
Yeah.
So Swamp didn't have anything big in it right now, like not even like some small side help. It's just been like, small monetary things, upgrades. Just
absolutely no value.
Items. So BadmoonZ is going to find these flippers and is going to have to make a decision here after bombing the dig spot. Where to go?
I always love seeing those types of, like, frustration, like, oh, come on. Oh, fire rod!
Fired flippers. That fire rod has been obtained. And this is where I'd go check that pedestal.
Yeah, because that doesn't eliminate, that does not eliminate one of our possible pedestal requirements.
On the contrary, it actually enhances it.
Yes, it does, because that is the fire rod, which gives you now full access to finish every single pendant dungeon.
At the same time, though, Turtle Rock is now something that Xirtanul can explore deeper, that BadmoonZ couldn't. But he is going to go check that book quickly.
Probably do Mothula at the same time.
No, he's actually going to opt to just check it.
Yeah, you are right.
I already forgot he had Titansmiths and is taking the long way around.
Yeah, we will find out very shortly, I'm sure. But there is still an item, possibly an item on Mothula, but there is an item in the back of Skull Woods. So, kind of surprised they're not routing that in at the same time.
Yeah, I think he literally wants confirmation here. I think, like, when he knows if it's Ice Rod, he'll wait on Turtle Rock. If it's Bow, he'll do Turtle Rock first, more than likely. It's just Couch Cash. We're safe from that.
All right, so nothing in the pedestal. So at this point, I mean, there could still be an item on Mothula. We still have that green pendant in Cold Stare that can hold both of those items. So there's still plenty of places that this game control, but definitely nothing on pedestal. And it looks like Xirtanul is heading into Turtle Rock or maybe Spike Kid. They did not check that earlier.
Probably T-Rock. Also, with that head confirmation, my prediction for earlier is completely incorrect. The book was useless.
Indeed it was. The book was... it was a red herring in this seed.
Yes, big one.
Didn't even need it for Desert, so definitely a massive red herring. And when they had access with the book to Desert Palace, they couldn't do anything in it anyway. So yeah, big red herring.
Yep. So Zert's gonna go do T-Rock here. He's definitely just going straight there. So BadmoonZ, he needs to check left side. Yes. I know some people, though, like to clear out Argus and skip left side.
That's what Xirtanul did, and had to go back in anyway, so it would be quicker in this seed to go left side first.
It's not going to make a big difference there. I'm just wondering whether he'll, like, leave the dungeon when he's done and skip out on where that fire rod is.
Oh, that would be so painfully sad.
And I remember, too, on another seed I commentated, the runners needed 3 items for go mode. They were all in Swamp Palace. One guy made the play correctly and got all 3 of them. One of them forgot to get the ice rod that was in the last chest.
Oh, man.
And mirrored before he found it.
You know, I've seen some runners where they're looking for a couple of items, and they go into a dungeon and get an item, and, you know,
it's
getting
like,
excited that they have it.
Let's go look at other stuff.
Yep, they mirror out and go check what that new item opened up, and there was another item inside their dungeon. That is one reason why I'm a big fan of making sure I do not leave an item behind in a dungeon if I'm looking for items still.
In this instance, BadmoonZ will probably go back in, especially since there will be not one, but 2 items left on the left side of the dungeon. Nothing yet, Volt, thankfully.
Yeah, we are just seeing everything that both runners have already seen, so nothing exciting yet, but we are now getting new checks from Xirtanul as we finally get to go on the right side of Turtle Rock.
Yeah. The other thing we know, Volt, is that pedestal has nothing. That's the other thing we found out.
True, we did see that check. I don't know if you were able to see that or not, and it was just Couch Cash.
The portal's off center. It's probably an even numbered, like, grid. Oh, we found Ice Rod.
Oh, man.
Wow. Good gamble by Xirtanul.
The gamble. So our go mode item will be bow. So we officially will have a bow mode for Xirtanul.
The problem, this bow could be pretty much anywhere.
We know it's not on pedestal. And we know it's not on the tablets. So, yes, pretty much anywhere.
Certainly gonna get his big key. He'll probably be full clearing the dungeon looking for this bow, though. You don't want to leave an item behind in Turtle Rock.
No, you do not. That is bad news, especially if you leave it in the middle of the dungeon, like this one chest coming up after the 4 anti-fairies.
This dungeon takes after the animal it's based off of. It is a slow dungeon.
Yes, indeed.
Xirtanul forgot to go to the middle section. I think he just realized it.
As I was saying, you forget that. Well, he needs the key from the what are those? The cactar things.
I just call them pokies. They look like pokies.
Yeah, definitely pokies.
Misses the quick kill spin. He does have fire rod if he wants to kill them more, just quickly. But it's not going to make that big of a difference here. I would like to note, though, the fact they have red mail in here is going to help both runners quite substantially, because they did not want to come in here with low mails.
Yeah. And they've finally gotten hearts in the seed. They are up to 14, so that is very nice. And 15
for up to 15 even, because of a couple more heart pieces he's picked up on the way that I think Xirtanul's ignored.
Yeah, just little quick checks on the side or something that BadmoonZ has picked up for that comfort, especially early on where they were not getting a lot of hearts.
Yeah. So BadmoonZ gonna go check the left side now. Both runners did this dungeon in the same way, so that it's impossible for them to flood this key that would normally be over here.
Yes. That is definitely one of the most aggravating and painful things to do in the game. That is such a time sink, and in this case it would have been a massive thing if they decided not to go after it after doing a flooded key, which neither did, so thankfully we did not have to worry about that.
So the next check we're gonna get here is Mimic Cave.
Yes, indeed.
Mimic Cave sometimes has something, but typically it's just another thing you have to go through Turtle Rock to access.
Yeah. Alright, so do you... I would imagine so, but do you believe BadmoonZ heads to Turtle Rock after getting this fire rod?
Frankly, I don't know.
They've already been there. They were locked out relatively quick, but it's, it's a crystal again, and they are still looking for 2 items, and one of them being Ice Rod, as Xirtanul got the Butter Sword from the Mimic Cave, so for once it actually had something nice.
Yeah, Mimic Cave served its purpose in this scene and actually made it somewhat worthwhile.
Yes,
so
indeed.
This Fire Rod, BadmoonZ is going probably to either Skullwoods and Checkpad or just Checkpad. Looks like he's planning on potentially doing both. There's Quake.
There's our final medallion. We do not need, but there it is.
Yeah, this scene kind of just tossed the medallions, right? The medallion we needed right at us and said, don't go bother looking for the others. Problem is, we're finding them anyways.
Yeah,
And they're both on Death Mountain.
That very good point. And found them just in normal routing that they would have found because they were looking for items. Like, it wasn't like anything crazy out of the way, like catfish or something like that.
No. So if there's somewhere the bow could be, and because Turtle Rock likes holding the bow, it's possible, it's Laser Bridge coming up here.
Indeed. And with the Cana Burna, it is in logic.
Yeah, the Cana Burna, and the Cape with half magic, I think both played in logic. Just some invulnerability item. Oh, there's the bow.
Alright, so we are now officially in bow mode for Xirtanul.
Yeah, he's in go, and the fact that he found the key in the first chest was very convenient because it lets him go right on to Trinex. This does mean, though, that if BadmoonZ does a head pendant dungeon check, he's going to lose more and more time to this.
Yeah, we now know Mothula, while having an item, is not going to be anything important. The only thing that I could see it being that might help is, like, powder, but at this point, it's not going to be what BadmoonZ is looking for. As we know, Bow and Ice Rod are in Turtle Rock, so Turtle Rock holding all the stuff.
And it looks like Xirtanul's not going to bother trying to do a zero-cycle Trinex here. It was entirely possible with both Boost and Butter's Sword, but it's just for show. It's not important. You can still one-cycle Trinex really easily with Butter.
And Mothula holds the compass, so that means there is that one chest inside of Skullwoods in this back area that will have the final item, and BadmoonZ will be checking on the pedestal, I'm assuming, right after this, and finding out that pendants are not required, and we'll have wasted a little bit of time, and there's the mirror shield.
That's a little troll there, Trinex. We needed that. Well, Xirtanul just has Pod and Eastern left to do, and because he's cleared out most of Pod, he can take the bow route, get his key, and go straight to Helmasaur.
Indeed, this will be
and then go straight to Eastern. We'll have to come back up the mountain one more time, though.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I have to make that extra trip, but the seed wants you to do that, so that is unfortunate news for BadmoonZ. They are just making all these extra checks. They need to go straight to Turtle Rock. And, I mean, at this point, even if BadmoonZ heads to Turtle Rock after this, this is Xirtanul's race to lose. They are equal on crystals. They are, well, excuse me, Xirtanul's one ahead with that Trinex kill. But they are very close. It looks like BadmoonZ is heading out and goes to... Oh, no. Oh, no.
He's going to Ice Palace.
And that is definitely, at this point, I am 100% safe to say that it is Xirtanul's race to lose at this point. This is going to be a huge time waste.
It's going to be very hard for Xirtanul to lose at this point in the time. The fact that Turtle Rock did have both the Ice Rod and the bow is kind of unlikely. You would expect at least one of those items to be in the Ice Palace here. But it's just gonna be a complete waste of time for BadmoonZ, and he's gonna just end up further behind.
Yeah, and that is painful for BadmoonZ, and yeah, this is gonna put them many minutes behind at this point. If they had made the quick trip to Turtle Rock, they could have had a chance. Xirtanul still would have had a full Trinex dungeon advantage, but oh man, that is bad news for BadmoonZ.
I think the thing, too, with BadmoonZ is the fact that he went into Turtle Rock to check the initial portion of the dungeon makes it feel like him going back up there is just going to be him wasting more time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I believe that is a big reason that led to the decision not to go back up there, because they're like, okay, I don't want to go up there twice if it's not going to have the items I need. That is a lot of time spent. Unfortunately, that is exactly what BadmoonZ needs to do, and did not.
And with Silver Arrows, too, Xirtanul's going to make very fast work of this entire dungeon.
And they, it's going to be super fast. And they are going to be one crystal away from heading to Ganon's Tower, which is Eastern, which will be straight to Armos Knights. And they are right there already by having done Pod right now. So this is great routing by Xirtanul. I mean, Xirtanul's really had pretty magnificent routing throughout the entire seed.
I think with such an odd start, it ended up pulling out nicely in his favor here, just with all the other routing he's done.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, that's the thing about Randomizer is you can one day you can have amazing routing, and the next day you do the same routing, and it's 10 times worse. So it's random. Gotta love it though.
It's what keeps it interesting.
That is very true.
So Xirtanul fast approaching Helmasaur here. And doesn't even really need to kill him with a silver arrow. He can just swing it Buttersword at him twice to kill him if he wants.
Yeah. Might be a little bit quicker, not having to do any menu changing, though getting hammer to bow is not too slow.
No, it's 3 squares away, which unfortunately is typically the most awkward transition you can make on the menu, is when you have to go 3 squares away. And it looks like he's just going to swing at him.
Quick and easy with Buttersword, it makes very quick work of the Helmasaur King, as Xirtanul now has their 6th item, or crystal, as I see the final item in Pod was just a 5 arrow upgrade, and they are now heading to their 7th and final crystal in Eastern Palace.
So BadmoonZ is clearing out Ice Palace here. We're not sure what he'll find, but at this point, I think the only items we haven't seen yet are the powder and 1 bottle.
Yeah, that is all we are missing.
No, he has Bloomerang. Never mind.
Yeah, BadmoonZ has both boomerangs, so.
Given where that was in Pod, Xirtanul will not be getting that. Not at this point.
And Xirtanul's already out of Pod, so that is the one item they left behind. So Xirtanul will be very close to having every item in the game almost at 100%, besides health, of course. They're only at 14, which, I mean, this far into the seed it's a little low.
All 4 skeletons spawning there, though. The position, I think, when she started slashing was a little off. Or he would have hit a trigger early. It's a little weird how that works.
He actually tried to do the same thing with Master Sword in Eastern Palace the first time and didn't quite get it either, so neither time those, or both times those stealthful skeletons get in the better of them.
Yeah, they kind of just did as they pleased.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we're gonna spawn anyways. Doesn't matter what you do.
BadmoonZ finding a lot of keys. I think he has the big chest and cold stare left to check, and I believe both have something.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I haven't been 100% paying attention since I know it's not going to have anything super important. I've been keeping the corner of my eye on it, but more watching Xirtanul because he is very close to heading to Ganon's tower. So, unfortunately, I've not been paying as much attention to BadmoonZ as I should have.
Well, I mean, you may want to pay attention to the Armos Knights because it's not going to be here for much longer.
Yeah, with Silvers. And somebody to point out that this might be the easiest fight in the game with having Silvers. It is definitely debatable. It's probably quicker than Vitreous, but you have to be a little bit more on point with your aiming. But I don't know. It's probably 6s on which is faster. And that is our final crystal. And you know what that means, right?
Yep, it means we're heading up to Ganon's tower as BadmoonZ goes to fight Cold Stare and actually ends up killing every boss this seed.
Oh man, that is so unfortunate for BadmoonZ.
Literally every boss. We killed Aga 1 as well.
Yeah, BadmoonZ will almost have a full item tracker by the time they are done with this. And so there's a little game we like to play, Buckshot. Why don't you fill us in on this game?
Well, we like to play a little game about Ganon's tower's big key location. There are 22 chests within the tower itself where this key could be. And guessing a number 1 through 22, or even just a specific chest if you want, we'll see if we can guess the number correctly. I don't believe the game is on the side channel, though, the bot game.
Yeah, I don't believe it is yet. It is something on Speed Gaming. I don't know if it'll get onto these side channels or not. At this point, it is not. But for me, I always go chest number 11 or the top left chest in randomizer room if they do not go full right at all. So that is my guess. What about you, Buckshot?
I'm gonna guess 17. I think it's gonna be on the Armos.
On the Armos, nice, without going full right side. Okay. All right, we will see. Keep getting your guesses in. You have until Xirtanul enters into the Ganon's Tower to be considered part of it. And, you know, since we don't have the leaderboard, what do they win, Buckshot?
They win being correct, basically. We don't have anything in particular to hand out other than our admiration and praise.
Yeah, I'm going to give you some internet cookies because, cookies are delicious and the internet's awesome.
I mean, cookies also keep track of your web data. I don't know if internet cookies are all that good.
And, I mean, I was thinking more like, cookies that are sent through the internet that not like the ones that track data, I don't know.
So BadmoonZ is going to check his green pendant here. Sahaso just has bombs. I think he is out of locations and is going to go up to Turtle Rock.
They have to. I think pretty sure they've checked everything else, and that is where they're heading. And they are going to be probably already a little frustrated at this point.
They're 3 dungeons behind. It's very hard for BadmoonZ to catch up.
Oh, it is. Xirtanul is extremely far in the lead at this point. They would have to make some insanely bad execution decisions to lose this race. Unfortunately, it was a very close race for the majority of the seed until that really BadmoonZ making the decision to go to Turtle Rock early.
Xirtanul also decided to go left side first, having found a small key. But it does not look like the key was here this side.
Not this time. So that is 6 chests that we have seen, and we will continue going from there, picking up the small key. Smart decision to get that in case you find a big key earlier.
Number 7 coming up here is just a small key. Probably going to grab that, so rip Bob.
Yeah, Bob is dead for the small key. Not something that you would really pass up on because, if you end up passing on it and you end up needing it, it's not too far out of the way, but you're on your way. Go get it.
Coming up next is chest 8 through 11 up here in the Stalfos room. Another heart container. I don't think we found Sankheart yet.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to tell. There's our big key in number 9.
So not a very poorly positioned key either.
All right, and it looks like Silverlink was the closest with 7. So congratulations, Silverlink, you win. And if you want internet cookies, they're there for you.
They're just sitting on the table. We'll have to go grab them. Although Surge the Stampede guessed 9 on the dot.
Oh, wow, I completely missed that. My bad, Surge. Silverlink, you did not win. And my bad, Surge, you did win.
So BadmoonZ gets his Ice Rod. Probably feeling the pressure right now.
Yeah, not feeling too good at this point. I can't imagine where they've done so many extras and making the decision to Turtle Rock earlier than it was and then avoiding going there later. I would feel pretty behind at this point. Hour 42 and just barely getting to Turtle Rock, being able to clear it and still looking for an item.
Yeah. Xirtanul going in the gauntlet here on 2.5 hearts. Gonna have to be a little careful here. Heart did just drop for him.
Does still have a fairy and a red potion, so definitely don't want to use your fairy at this point or your potion, but does have some safety if it gets a little hairy.
Yeah, I don't think he decided to get any extra potions before coming in here, so he won't even have a blue for Ganon.
No, will not.
He's taking a fair bit of damage here, just from BMOS and other things. Up, down he goes. Now he's going to have to play it a little bit more carefully. He could opt to... Well, actually, I don't think there are any more fairies at this point. If he had went to the safety room, he could have opted to grab another fairy and put it in his empty bottle.
There is the anti-fairy right before Lambolus in this next room for Xirtanul, but they don't have powder, so yeah.
Now, powder has been evasive this seed. Would have been nice, but didn't find it.
Yeah, and that would have been something they could have replenished that used fairy for, but that's why you have him there, so you don't actually die. You can continue on. But now, like you said, he's got to be a little bit more careful. Don't want to use your red potion before Ganon if you get to that point, though they are pretty well geared.
Xirtanul just early on his silver shots on, I think, each attempt he took at the Lambos.
Yeah,
so
just
he
a little bit
decided
too
to just
soon.
use the butter.
Yeah, I mean, Lambolus with butter. I mean, really butter with everything. It just makes much quicker work with it. And this is, one of the most satisfying things is getting the Wizrobes room. Excuse me, the Wizrobes room. Wow, I cannot say that. The rooms with the Wizrobes in one shot with the Cane of Samaria. And it's so satisfying. And Xirtanul did a fantastic job both times.
Yeah, the Wizrobe setups with the Cane of Samaria are really satisfying to do. Falling off the ledge, though, not so much.
a few sword slashes of frustration for falling there, taking it a little bit easier around the corners that time.
Yeah, gonna take the fall this time to actually get back over to the torch. Almost falls again. Be a little careful here, Xirtanul. We don't want to have you freeze to the tower here.
Yeah, and this would be a very bad time to die at this point, where they do not have that fairy anymore. But is able to make it through onto the next torch room. A little bit easier of a room to light the torches in this time.
Yeah, he won't even be able to fill up here in the usual fill-up room. Might consider opening the chest up here just for extra health, but he's gonna forego it.
Based off some of the decisions he's made right here, I feel like he might feel behind. Which again, 145, it's, pretty far into the seed. You're a little late getting the go mode, even, with where the item locations were, kind of the double dip into mire. I wouldn't be surprised if they're feeling a little behind.
Xirtanul really playing with our heartstrings here. It's keep his low health going into Moldorm.
Oh my goodness. And yes, Silverlink, Xirtanul does have a red potion.
Oh.
And gets trolled.
Oh, and now he's down to 1. He's gonna go drink that potion now.
Yeah. Oh man. That is nice to have the full health, but not a place you want to use it. I would imagine he would have rather had that for Ganon.
He would much rather have that for Ganon, and might be at least a teeny bit tempted to get a potion before he starts it. But with Butter Sword, he might not need it. Trolldorm, however, not giving him any time or room to breathe.
None at all. And ladies and gentlemen, just do want to point out that BadmoonZ as well is now in bow mode. They've gotten their bow on the laser bridge and will be making their way to Trinex. Still a long ways behind Xirtanul, but go mode for BadmoonZ.
Third time's a charm for Xirtanul. He does choose to open the last chest, our validation chest, the last chest of the run. Just a big 20 though. As BadmoonZ also does not opt for 0 cycle. He too will get the 1 cycle butter.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Trinex with Butter Sword is so easy. Really, I mean, how well geared they are. Most of the boss fights are easy at this point, but yeah. Oh, almost got the triple.
Almost the triple. Aga gave a very generous first pattern there. That third one, though, was not good at all, as BadmoonZ kills Trinex in good fashion.
Oh, no.
He's having a lot of issues with Aga right now. This is a pretty easy one. There we go.
There we go. Very nice triple. That setup was beautiful, and he took advantage of it after having a couple of rough rounds.
So all he has left now is Ganon himself. And he's probably not too concerned about getting a potion right this second. He has most of his health. He doesn't really need to use his magic at all in the early portions of the fight. He has silvers, he has butter.
Yeah, at this point, if you're Xirtanul, you're even if you're feeling behind, you're feeling good. You haven't seen that dot done yet, and you are on to Ganon. So I think you're feeling pretty good at this point. You might still be a little nervous, but at least you know that the Ganon fight's going to be pretty straightforward with Butter Sword and Silvers.
Now, he did ready his cape here, so I wonder if he's just got it there for panic.
Yeah, just to make even quicker work of Ganon.
And he's going to move on to phase 3. For those who are curious, the reason you don't typically use Cane and Burn on Ganon in this particular phase is you really lag this fight if you use the Cane and Burn with the sparkles that come around it. It would use less magic, but you would slow down your fight considerably.
Yeah, and with half magic, that extra magic save the Cane and Burner would have is not worth that lag.
Yeah, it's not. But again, not going to be too teleport happy this time around and get us straight on to phase 4.
Yeah, very nice. Nice first teleport for the. Almost got the torch glitch.
He was a little late on that, but he's going to try to set Ganon up for another double. And down he goes.
Very, very nice fight for Xirtanul. Like, again, pretty straightforward with Butter Sword and Silvers. It does it. I don't even think he got hit once by utilizing that cape through phase 2.
And he has done in our SRL chat with an official time of 1 hour 50 minutes on the dot.
And GG's to Xirtanul gets that 1-0 advantage going into their second game. So congratulations to Xirtanul going up 1-0 and GG's. BadmoonZ, see if they decide to finish.
Yeah, he's he's in go mode, just a couple dungeons behind. We'll see whether or not he decides to finish. And it looks like he probably will.
Yeah, it looks like BadmoonZ will finish this off. But again, once again, GG's to Xirtanul. We'll see if we can get him in here for an interview.
And it looks like he'll join us in a little bit after a short reprieve.
Yeah, definitely like to give the runners a little break after their races, unless they're willing to jump right in. But give them some time to let their nerves settle a little bit after being in a race, especially where you probably feel like you're behind.
And I will take a moment to quickly do this call out. If you guys like what you've seen from the runners today, make sure you give them a follow on Twitch to show your support. They would appreciate it ever so. And this has been a very good race, too. I wouldn't say either runner has played badly. They both made very logical moves. It's just that Xirtanul happened to make the correct choice.
Yeah, it was one decision that changed the entire outcome of this race. It could have gone either way, and that one decision of too early of a Turtle Rock gamble by BadmoonZ made him not go earlier, and it hurt. And unfortunately for them, they do lose this first race, but they do have a chance for redemption.
Yeah, BadmoonZ definitely has a couple races left with him to try and pull this back. But I will say, though, anyone who's made it this far in the tournament, kudos to them, because they've done a very good job.
Yeah, and, I mean, that's the thing. Like, both runners have made it to the top 16 in the secondary tournament out of, I want to say there was 150 originally. That is no small task.
I think the groups went, there was like 26 groups, and the groups spilled over to like A and then another letter. So there were a ton of people. 150 or 160 sounds about right.
Yeah, it was pretty insane.
It's been a huge tournament. It's definitely been interesting to see how everyone does things differently.
Yeah, and it's that's again the randomness of the way that this is by being a randomizer is it opens up so many different routing ways. There's so many ways to go about doing the exact same thing, and it's kind of like you said, it's been a lot of fun to see how different people think in a way. Like you kind of get a way to see how they try to process information, and a lot of times it's extremely different from their runner, and a lot of times it's very different from the way I think. Again, that's why I'm not even close to being in this race.
I feel like I could have. I just got into it a bit too late. Next one, though, definitely.
Yeah, definitely going to try to get into the next one. The secondary, I do believe they let everyone in that does some qualifying. Don't quote me on that, but I believe. And then, but I would not have made it past the group stages.
There were a ton of people qualifying, too. It was a lot of people, like hundreds.
Yeah, with 150 people in the secondary tournament and the 100 that made it to the main tournament, you're looking at 250 people that have been racing over the last few months, and we've still got plenty of races to go. So if you have... Go
Sorry,
ahead.
continue.
I was just gonna say, if you have not had your fill of randomizer, there's plenty more to come. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, we're both trying to say different things here. I was gonna say that's not including the fact that 8 people were re-invited to the main tournament too.
Yeah, good point.
And as a second note here, for a secondary tournament, the top 4 will get re-invited. The winner is going to get their name in, I believe, the Chris Houlihan room, just on the plaque in there.
Yeah, I do believe that is what it is. The top 4 will get automatic re-invitations, and the winner does get their name in on it. And I believe that is correct. That is the room it goes.
Yeah, and the like the runners that are at this stage of the top 16, winning just twice gets them the means of coming back. At this point, like they have to just win their 2 more matches, and then what remains after that is basically just added praise.
Yep, and again, just for those who may not know, this is all done for pride, for bragging rights, for winning, and for fun. Everything is done in fun. There is no actual prize beyond automatic entry to the next tournament, and also your name inside the game somewhere. But it is a fun race. So if you have enjoyed what you've seen, please give our runners a follow. Xirtanul and BadmoonZ have put on quite the show for you. Both runners, having made it this far, are incredible racers, and I am sure you will see them doing plenty of other randomizing races, as well as see them in the next tournament.
BadmoonZ here did kill the Armos Knights and is going to be on his way up to Ganon's Tower. Will likely be out of that and through to the pig pretty quickly, given where the big key was. The good thing about where this big key was is whether you're doing left side first, right side first, or doing the Dark Magician route, you're going to find that big key pretty quick.
Yeah, that is a very nice location for the big key.
All right, looks like Xirtanul's ready to hop in with us, and it would appear he has joined us now. Hello there, Xirtanul, and congrats on finishing that race.
All right, GG, Xirtanul.
Not getting any response currently. Maybe his mic's muted on his end.
I'll have to get that fixed shortly, but as we were saying, there are plenty of races to come. BadmoonZ is finally activating the stairs into Ganon's Tower and will be entering in there after killing every boss in the game. That was a very, very unfortunate turn of events for BadmoonZ.
Yeah, hello guys, this should be better.
Yeah,
there
now
we go.
Hear ya. Congrats again.
Good morning, all, and thanks.
Yeah, congrats. So, initial thoughts on the seed with the Turtle Rock having Ice Rod and Bow for your go mode.
Well, that was kind of like trolly. I was thinking I had Fire Rod and Cade. I was like, well, let's just go T-Rock and see how far I can get in there. And then I found Ice Rod. I was like, okay, I can finish this now. And then I found Bow. I was like, oh, okay, I'm completely done in there. Well, that was quite odd finding both of those items in the same dungeon.
Yeah, that move was the main thing that made the difference between you and BadmoonZ here, because BadmoonZ went to clear out pendant dungeons after finding the Fire Rod. He went to clear out Skull and then checked the ped, and even then said he's probably not going to find Ice Rod in there, and decided to check Ice Palace for items too, even went to go and kill Cold Stare because he had an item.
Oh, that is just rough.
Yeah, it ended up being pretty rough for BadmoonZ in the seed. Hey, you guys were really neck and neck until the decision to go into Turtle Rock. He was maybe a couple minutes behind, and had they made that decision to head towards Turtle Rock after getting the Fire Rod, they would have been right behind you, and it would have been much closer. But sadly, they decided to check Ice Palace, and that just put them way behind.
I can completely imagine, though. I mean, just having Fire Rod and, well, getting Flippers and Mire just completely pointed you towards Swamp and Icing together.
Yeah, I wouldn't have doubted it. The decision made sense, but checking T-Rock also felt like an idea, just in case at least the bow was in there. Granted, we know more than just the bow was there.
That was just my thought. I was like, well, Ice not having it was like, well, let's just gamble T-Rock and see if it has bow, because usually T-Rock is something good.
So I do want to go back to the beginning of the seed here, like the search for gloves. Were you expecting to have to do Agahnim before finding that glove?
I was actually happy that I found both gloves in Dark World because that meant I made the right decision of going Agahnim.
Yeah, I think at the time when you had done that, there was literally nowhere else you could check.
I believe he had Agina's cave left, and maybe one other location. I know he had Agina's cave left at that point, but that was a very late bow or glove for you.
Yeah, indeed. That was kind of annoying. I mean, I just completely routed. I mean, I'm not used to having no gloves, so I just routed everything like while having gloves.
You route everything like having gloves, which is why catfish was a no-go.
Yeah, indeed. I was running there like, okay, I can go catfish after Agahnim, and I was like, wait, I need gloves to get in there. I mean, I know I can get past the second one thingy, but not past the first.
Yeah, it was an odd little time. Whenever you don't find gloves during a seed, they're so secondhand that you forget sometimes that you don't have them.
Indeed, it's well, I had this before in my last race as well, where it lacked Titan Smiths, and I just went like, okay, I can go ice now, and I didn't have Titan Smiths, and that's it, well, etc. So that was really annoying as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just decided to go to Dark Village because I thought Pod had like absolutely nothing because I still lacked at least a bow to finish it. And I think that was the right decision to make as well.
Yeah, sure enough, Pod had basically nothing in it. The one chest you didn't grab had the blue boomerang. BadmoonZ ended up deciding to check that one chest instead of going to the maze.
Okay, so there was that last pesky boomerang I lacked.
Yeah, you
have not found anywhere is the powder. It's probably somewhere in GT that we didn't check.
Yeah, that is the one item we do not know where it is.
Well, and the fourth bottle, but item-wise,
correct.
yes, the powder is the big one.
Yeah, I'm expecting them to be in GT indeed. I can't remember if I found Quake or not because I didn't mark it, but I think it was like in T-Rock or something.
It was in T-Rock in the roller room just before the dark room. Yep.
Finding every single medallion and only needing one, that was quite a troll as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the seed also put your Cane of Samaria on the bookshelf. Oh, Baboon's down. I think he still has a fairy, though.
He does. And going to that Ganon Samaria, what was your thoughts when you saw that without not having the knowledge of whether or not Mire and Turtle Rock were required?
I was actually quite happy with that because if I saw a Kane there, like 99% of all seeds, it's kind of required, so that would mean we get like reasonably early bits.
And you found them, I'd say, reasonably early. They were in the Dark Death Mountain in a pretty quickly obtainable location.
Yeah, I'm just, well, a bit sad-ish that I full cleared Mire, but on the other hand, I mean, we got flippers which were needed for Swamp, so I can't really say that was a bad choice.
I believe both of you ended up full clearing Mire. BadmoonZ didn't even do the quick finish of Mire when he went in. I think, too, he may have also forgotten that he hadn't picked up the Cane of Samaria because he went to the Mire area like a second time and went to clear Desert, but I think he forgot he didn't have the cane and couldn't follow it up with Misery Mire at the time.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it was definitely something that ended up putting a little extra time on him. And, there's a few little decisions that is why he was behind a couple minutes going into that Turtle Rock play, and that was just those little things add up as you go, unfortunately. And then, of course, the big decision not going into Turtle Rock is really where the race was won for you and lost for BadmoonZ.
Yeah, but that's just basically random for you. I mean, if like the Ice Rod or Bow was in Ice Palace and he would have found it before me, then he would have had like a decent.
Yeah, it's choices and gambles that people make. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Indeed, and that's why I quite like playing random. I mean, it's all about making choices, and I think like lesser runners can beat like top runners as well, just by making different decisions and taking risks which actually work out for them.
Yeah. It's what has made a lot of this pretty interesting to watch.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about that. That's one of the best things about the randomizer is that it's so open to different decisions from runners and kind of seeing how people think.
Indeed, I mean you have a lot of runners which can go completely lampless, for example, but some people like really want that lamp for Mire, that dark room. So those like little things are actually really fun to watch. I mean, everybody's got these different strategies about dark rooms and, well, just basically dungeons itself.
Alright, so I think we brushed on this a tiny bit earlier. Do you think you executed and routed well during this seed?
To be quite fair, after like playing Bill Bear and having quite a few beers, I think my execution was actually surprisingly good.
Yeah, I think you did pretty well in terms of getting the items and where you decided to go after getting items. Not to say that BadmoonZ routed badly, he just didn't make the optimal routing that ended up getting you ahead.
No, but like I said, I mean, if for example Green Pen didn't have the bow, then it would have had the lead, so that's just like small differences.
Yeah, it's a small little thing.
I mean, it might look like it's like, I don't know, like 15 minutes difference, but if he would have gotten that bow, then well, he would have beaten me by like 5 to 10 minutes, so that's just random for you. Making one like semi-bad routing decision, which just doesn't pay off, is, yeah. That's just horrible.
Yeah, indeed, and that is very fun. And just a quick note, BadmoonZ has finished Agahnim 2 and is heading in to Ganon, and they are just as well geared as you, so should be able to make pretty quick work of Ganon in this seed.
Yeah, I expected him to have Butter Sword as well. After that was in Mimic Cave, I think.
Right. One other kind of interesting thing is it's not the case right now because you both got a ton of hearts in the end, but you did not have much hearts very early.
No, I mean I'm fairly comfortable playing with low hearts, so every single time I saw like this all heart piece or anything, I just decided to skip it. I just wanted to get that one in Checkerboard Cave because I was like on 9 hearts, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a full heart container, so I think that was the only heart that you went out of your way for in this seed. You passed up a few heart pieces, which is, and then of course BadmoonZ clearing out a few extra things is why BadmoonZ has some extra hearts than you. But yeah, it started really slow in terms of health.
Yeah, indeed, and I mean, if you look at the fact when we got our Dark Wall axes, which was fairly late as well, but I think we only had like 7 hearts at that point before we killed Agahnim.
Yeah,
well,
I think so.
Full clear like entire light world, which was kind of low.
Alright, one other small thing that just occurred to me, that one dig game.
For a piece of heart, yeah. I was like, okay, let's do this digging game, and then heart piece, like, okay, I'm done here.
Okay, I'm done. I'm a little surprised you decided to go pick that up since it was right there, but you were more focused on getting the routing done.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm fairly comfortable playing with 7 to 8 hearts, especially when I have blue mail. I think I had a fairy at that point as well, so that
Yeah, you did.
feel fine.
You had both of those. BadmoonZ, meanwhile, has slain Ganon.
Yes, he has, and finishes in second place with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 42 seconds. So GG's to BadmoonZ on finishing the seed.
I have to say, I also quite like my ending time though of 150, well, 00.
Yeah, 150 on the dot.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, poor BadmoonZ here has opened up, I think, almost every single chest that he could.
That was really close to a full 100% clear for BadmoonZ. I think he cleared everything besides a full Ganon clear.
Well, he didn't go back into Pod and get the items that were left in the Dark Room either.
And there was still one item left in Schoolwoods. He did not check that one chest in the back.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I mean, we had pretty much everything, I think.
Yeah. He definitely had everything at that time.
Hi.
And we are now joined by BadmoonZ. GG, dude.
Good game, man.
Good game.
All right, so let's the first question, your overall thoughts, especially with Ice Rod and Bow being in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where to begin on this. Like, this is just like making the wrong decision, the seed.
Yeah, the race was fairly close until it came to that basically branch in the road. Xirtanul, after getting the Fire Rod, decided he may as well check T-Rock, whereas you decided to go check more pendants. Both of you checking Pedestal first, at least.
Correct. I do have one question about that. You dove into Turtle Rock earlier. Was that kind of what an influence was for you not going back into Turtle Rock once you got the Fire Rod?
Yes.
Yeah, we were kind of wondering about that, and that unfortunately was really where the race was changed. You guys were really close up until then.
I felt so behind the whole time that I just kept taking bigger and bigger risks too.
I think you were never more than like 3 or so minutes behind Xirtanul at any given time until he went into Turtle Rock. The biggest time difference was when you were in Swamp, because I think Xirtanul got there like 4 or 5 minutes before you.
And that is when you had checked Turtle Rock the first time, and so that added that little extra time. So
Yeah, I had forgotten about the shovel actually. So in
I
my
was
mind, it was like,
curious
this is the
about
only
it.
place left.
I was curious about that because it's behind that flute. You sometimes forget you have the shovel.
The whole time, like, I was thinking to myself, well, the one thing this seed has going for it is there'll be no, there's a chance for no flippers. Very,
That came
very
to Rob's ugly head and held you
flippers.
guys up.
I was thinking the exact same until I got flippers from that next spot. I was like, oh, come on, it doesn't mean I have to go to Swamp or Ice, right?
Swamp, yes. Ice, no, unfortunately. One other thing I did actually want to ask. I believe earlier, BadmoonZ, when you went to Desert, you had not gotten the red cane. Had you forgotten to grab it?
Yes, I went to Desert, and I'm like, oh, great, I can do both of these at the same time, and when I went into Desert, I realized I didn't have it, so I'm like, all right, well, we're here, we'll finish this one.
Yeah, just a small little mistake, which cost you a small bit of time there, but thankfully not too much time. It's not like Meyer itself was very well stocked either. Meyer was kind of a pain to navigate.
Yeah.
And it ended up needing to go all the way through and get in that shovel, which was, that's not nice. To lead to the flippers, yeah. And we were wondering if you'd forgotten about the Cane of Samari, and that's like one of the things that I don't like about knowing where an item is but not being able to access is when I finally get the access. Sometimes you forget that you actually haven't gotten it because you're like, okay, I can have it now, and then you just kind of go on thinking I've got it. And
that is exactly what happened.
Yeah, you got to be very attentive.
It's definitely the main way you lose time there.
Well, I found lots of ways to do that this time.
Yeah, you killed every single boss this seed. Not even Aga 1 was spared from the Wrath of Link today.
Yeah, you killed every boss, BadmoonZ.
I got him. It's my revenge.
Those 2 swords at Zahashila, though.
Oh yeah, I had to stop and do a little spin celebration. That time I'll take. Yeah, that's on me.
Yeah, I was curious. Were you expecting to find that glove before those 2 swords?
Yes, I was.
Because the sea did kind of force you guys into Agahnim in a very slow fashion, because neither of you went to go get those swords. I think had either of you gone to Eastern earlier and gotten those swords, you may have made a play on Agahnim a bit sooner.
I was putting that off to the last chance. Like, I even went to do Ice Rod and Fake Flippers before I went to that.
Yeah, you both did.
I think Xirtanul did all Fake Flipper except for Hobo.
I actually never checked Hobo, but then again, I mean, this seed gave us a shot on the hammer right after Village to get it with Mirror. I was like, yeah, let's just do Hera. It's free anyways.
Yeah. I want to say too, there were a fair number of overworld items this time around.
It's just always that bow.
It's always the bow.
The bow and Ice Rod, 2 of the trolliest items in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, who put them in T-Rock? I mean, can we blame someone for this or not?
I don't know. I don't think Shades was involved in this at all, so we can't blame him.
Just blame one of Trinex's 3 heads. They'll have to cough up for that.
Yeah.
Come to think of it, one of the heads probably likes to keep the Ice Rod in the dungeon, and the other one probably likes to keep the bow in the dungeon.
It's probably both of them. You're probably right.
And then the third one likes to keep Mirror in the dungeon. Wasn't the case this time.
I do have to say, this is like the second time I killed Trinex and I got Mirror Shield from him.
Yeah, it's not very nice when he's holding that from you.
No,
Yeah.
indeed.
All right. I've been looking over the schedule. Have you guys had a chance to schedule your second race?
We need to figure that out still.
I think it's going to happen somewhere on Friday or Saturday, but we still have to figure out the time.
All right, sounds good. Just gonna plug that if you had that figured out. Otherwise, keep your eyes out for that. They will be having the second race, according to them, either Friday or Saturday. So keep your eyes out for that, everybody.
Good game, Xirtanul. I hope to make the next one very competitive.
Yeah, good race, you two. Do you guys have anything else you actually want to add before we start to wrap this up here?
Well, just a shout out to Restreamer, Tracker, both commentary and BadmoonZ for this run.
Same for me as well, except for Xirtanul.
Yeah, to brush over that again, I will follow up with the shout out to our tracker, Michael Volts, to our Restreamer, Jacobs for Life, and I do thank you guys all for watching. If you guys want a little bit more randomizer this evening, there's a race on the link to the past randomizer 2, though I believe it's wrapping up. So I don't know how much more is left for that. But a race started about 90 minutes ago on the link to the past randomizer 3. And that should still be going on. So if you guys want a little bit more to look at, just keep an eye on those channels. But past that, that's all we have left for today. And well, I think it's time we sign off over here. I've been Buckshot Boo, and have a good evening, everybody.
Yeah, just one quick shout out one more time to both our runners for giving us quite the race. If you enjoyed what you saw, please give them both a follow. And of course, Jacobs for Life for restreaming, Michael Volt for tracking, and my co-commentator Buckshot Boo. I have been Sir Laughlot. I hope everybody has a fantastic day.
Good evening, all.